The night was quiet. Jack stood by his window, sipping a cup of hot tea. Outside, the wind moved through the trees like a whisper. His small cabin sat at the edge of the forest, far from the nearest town. He liked the peace and silence. No noise. No trouble. Just him, the stars, and his garden. But tonight something felt wrong. He heard a sound soft, like rustling leaves. But there was no wind strong enough to move the plants that way. Jack narrowed his eyes and turned off the cabin light. He waited. A moment, there it was again, a soft crunch of footsteps. Someone was in his garden. Jack grabbed his flashlight and his old iron tool, a strong rod he used to dig soil. Quietly, he opened the door and stepped outside. The air was cold. The moon gave a silver glow to the ground. He walked slowly toward the garden, careful not to make a sound. He reached the edge of the garden and stopped. Someone was there, crawling. On hands and knees, picking his vegetables and stuffing them into a dirty cloth bag. Jack raised the flashlight. "Hey, stop right there!" The figure gasped and dropped the bag. As Jack stepped closer, he saw her clearly. She was not human. She had pale purple skin, long messy white hair, and strange markings on her arms. She wore torn clothes, barely holding together. Her eyes were big, glowing softly in the moonlight. Her lips trembled. She looked weak and scared. Jack kept his flashlight on her. "Who are you? What are you doing in my garden?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she slowly raised her shaking hands and lowered her head to the dirt. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Her voice was soft, filled with fear. I needed food. My children. They are hungry. Please, don't hurt me." Jack's heart paused. Children. He looked at her again. Her fingers were thin. Her face was dirty. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. "Get up," Jack said, softer now. "How many children?" "2," she said, still kneeling. "They're hiding, not far. They haven't eaten in 2 days." Jack lowered the iron rod, but kept the flashlight steady. "You're not from this planet, are you?" She shook her head slowly. "We escaped from bad people. They hunt us now. I didn't want to steal, but I had no choice." Jack sighed. He could still see some vegetables in her bag: carrots, potatoes, and a few tomatoes. He looked at the night sky. This wasn't the first alien he had seen. After the war between humans and alien empires, many non-humans ended up stranded on Earth. Some were dangerous, but this woman didn't look dangerous at all. She looked broken. "What's your name?" he asked. She blinked. "I don't have one anymore." Jack frowned. "That's not right. Everyone has a name." She looked down. "They took it when they bought me." Jack's eyes widened. "Bought you?" "I was a slave," she said. "Now I am nothing. Just a mother trying to feed her young." Jack looked around. The woods were dark. Anything could be hiding in there. She could be lying, but something in her voice told him she was send single quotes D. He slowly extended his hand. "Come inside. I'll give you food. But I need to know your story." The alien woman flinched. She looked at his hand like it might burn her. Her lips trembled again. "Why?" she asked. "Why help me?" Jack's voice was calm. "Because no mother should have to beg for food." Tears filled her eyes. She reached out and took his hand with both of hers, gripping it tightly, as if she thought he might change his mind. Jack helped her to her feet. She swayed, almost falling, but he held her steady. "Come on," he said. "Let's get you warm first." They walked back to the cabin. Jack didn't look behind him, but he could feel the forest watching. Something told him this night was only the beginning. As they reached the cabin door, the woman stopped. "Please," she whispered. "Don't call the guards. They'll take my children and sell them." Jack looked into her glowing eyes. "I won't," he said firmly. "But tomorrow, I want to see them. If you're telling the truth, I'll do more than just feed you." The woman nodded slowly, and as she stepped inside, the door closed behind her with a soft click. But out in the woods, a pair of red eyes blinked in the dark and disappeared. The cabin smelled like soup. Steam rose from the pot as Jack stirred it slowly, his eyes glancing at the woman sitting quietly near the fire. She didn't speak. She barely moved. Just sat there with her knees hugged to her chest, staring at the flames as if afraid they might disappear. Her clothes were still damp from the cold night, and her skin looked even thinner under the light. It barely held her together. Jack placed a wooden bowl of hot soup in front of her. "Eat," he said gently. "You need it." She looked at the bowl as if unsure if it was real. Then, slowly she reached out, both hands trembling. She brought it close and sipped it with small, careful movements. Jack watched in silence. He had given food to stray animals before, but this was something else. This was a living being, someone who once had a home, a name, and now had nothing. She finished the soup quickly. Too quickly. Like someone who had learned never to leave a bite behind. "More?" Jack asked. She looked down. "No, please, save it for my children." Jack sat across from her. "Where are they?" "Hiding," she whispered. "In the forest. In an old shed. We sleep there. It keeps out the wind. A little." Jack leaned forward. "You said you escaped. From where?" The woman flinched. Her hands gripped the empty bowl tighter. They called it a farm, but it wasn't for growing food. It was for growing pain. Jack's stomach turned. He had heard rumors. Alien slave farms. Hidden camps where weak and lost creatures were forced to work, serve, or worse. The governments had denied it, said it was handled. Clearly it wasn't. They branded us, she said quietly. Took our names, gave us numbers. Said we were nothing unless we pleased them. When I gave birth to my second child, they told me I would be sold again, so I ran. She looked at him now. Her eyes, soft and glowing like dim stars, held a deep fear. They're still looking for us, she said. They always do. Jack felt a cold chill. You think they'll come here? She nodded. They have drones, trackers, dogs that can smell fear. Jack stood up and began to pace. His cabin was quiet, hidden, but it wasn't invisible. And if they tracked her scent, it wouldn't be long before someone came knocking. I don't even know your name, he said. I told you. They took it. Then I'll give you a new one, Jack said. Something real, something yours. The woman blinked, surprised. A name for me? Jack nodded. He looked at the silver scars on her arms. Thin lines burned into her skin. Like vines. I'll call you Luma, he said. It means light. She smiled, small and weak, but real. Luma. She repeated softly, like tasting hope for the first time. Jack handed her a thick blanket. Get some rest. Tomorrow, I want you to take me to your kids. Luma hesitated. They don't trust anyone. Not even me sometimes. The little one. He hasn't spoken since we escaped. I won't scare them, Jack promised. But if they're sick or starving, I can't leave them out there. Suddenly, a sharp beep came from Jack's window. He rushed over and saw a red light blinking in the trees. A small floating drone hovered just above the tree line, silent, watching. Luma jumped to her feet. They found us. Jack pulled the curtain shut. No, not yet. That drone didn't scan the cabin. It's just searching, for now. He turned to her. We don't have time. We go to the shed, now. But the kids, we bring them here. It's safer. Luma grabbed the blanket tightly and nodded. Jack grabbed his flashlight and an old hunting knife, just in case. The wind outside howled. As they stepped into the night, behind them, the soup grew cold. But in the dark forest ahead, a mother's hope was still alive and waiting. The forest was breathing. Every tree, every shadow, every cold breeze felt alive, as if watching them. Jack moved silently, his flashlight low to the ground. Beside him, Luma walked barefoot through the mud, her thin arms holding the blanket tightly against her chest. Her eyes scanned the woods like a hunted animal. "They sleep during the day," she whispered. "It's safer that way, but at night, they listen." Jack didn't ask who they were. He already knew, the ones hunting her. The ones who had taken her name, her freedom, and nearly her life. The trees thickened, and the ground turned soft and wet. The air grew colder, as if the forest itself didn't want them there. Then she stopped. "There," she said, pointing. Jack turned his light toward a small, broken shed almost swallowed by vines and leaves. It leaned to one side like it had been forgotten by the world. The door was missing. A piece of metal hung over the entrance like a curtain. Luma stepped forward and tapped the metal gently. "It's me," she whispered. "It's Mama. I brought help." No sound came from inside. Jack waited. Then, from the darkness, came a soft sniffle. Then a cough. Luma dropped to her knees. "Kilo, Mira, it's safe. Come out." The metal shifted, and two tiny faces peeked out. Jack's heart sank. One was a small girl with big glowing eyes and tangled silver hair. The other, a boy even smaller, had dark circles under his eyes and strange spots on his skin. His hands clutched a piece of old cloth like a shield. The girl stepped forward slowly, staring at Jack with fear. Luma opened her arms. "This is the man I told you about. He gave me food. He wants to help." Jack knelt down and placed a piece of bread on the ground. "It's okay," he said gently. "You don't have to be scared." The girl looked at the bread, then at her mother. Finally, she ran into Luma's arms. The boy followed, slower, still silent. "They haven't eaten since yesterday," Luma said, rocking them gently. "I gave them what I could. But it's not enough anymore." Jack felt a heavy lump in his throat. These weren't criminals. They weren't thieves. They were just kids. "I'm taking you all back to the cabin," he said firmly. "You'll stay hidden there. It's warmer, safer." "They'll find us," Luma said. "They always do." "Not if I help," Jack replied. "I know these woods better than they do." Luma nodded. "We'll follow you." Jack took off his coat and wrapped it around the boy, who was shivering badly. He lifted him gently into his arms. The boy didn't resist, but he still didn't speak. As they walked back through the forest, Jack noticed something odd. The drone was gone, but in the trees above, something had left fresh claw marks on the bark. 3 long scratches. Deep and wide. He didn't tell Luma. No need to add fear to her already broken heart. They reached the cabin just before sunrise. Jack moved fast. He pulled the sofa aside and lifted the trapdoor beneath it. "This used to be a root cellar," he said. "Now it's your hiding spot." The children crawled inside first, followed by Luma. Jack handed her a basket of food and water. "Stay down there. No lights, no sound." Luma looked at him with tired eyes. "Why are you doing this, human?" Jack paused. "Because if my mother had been in your place, I would have wanted someone to help her too." Luma smiled faintly. "Then I owe your mother thanks." Jack closed the trapdoor and pulled the sofa back over it. He stood up, heart racing, because he knew this act of kindness wasn't the end. It was just the beginning, and something, or someone, was already watching from the trees. The knock was not loud. It was slow, measured, cold. Knock, knock. Jack froze mid-step. His mug slipped from his hand and shattered on the wooden floor. His heart raced. No one ever came here, not this deep in the woods, and especially not at sunrise. He quickly pulled the curtain back, just a little, and peeked outside. 2 figures stood on the porch, tall, dressed in black armor with silver shoulder plates, not human. Their faces were hidden behind smooth masks with red visors. One held a scanner. The other rested a clawed hand on a stun rifle. Bounty hunters. Jack's chest tightened. They had found him, or worse, they had found them. He looked over at the couch. Under it, The trapdoor was still hidden, silent, safe for now. Another knock. Knock. Open up, said a voice through a voice modulator. Robotic, flat, routine check. Don't make us ask again. Jack took a breath, then opened the door slowly, keeping his expression calm. Morning, he said, forcing a yawn. You're waking me up early. The one with the scanner stepped forward. This area's under sweep. 2 slaves escaped. A transport ship 3 weeks ago. Female, 2 offspring. Dangerous, maybe hiding nearby. Jack scratched his head. I live alone. Been that way for years. You're welcome to check around if you don't believe me. The bounty hunter looked past him into the cabin. No need. You smell human. Cabin smells human. Still, he leaned in. Mind if I ask why your garden's missing half its vegetables? Jack didn't blink. Dear, damn things love tomatoes. The 2 hunters looked at each other. The one with the scanner aimed it at Jack's chest. Scan confirms human. No foreign bio signs, but don't get clever, settler. If we find you hiding fugitives, we'll erase your ID chip. You'll become a ghost. Understood, Jack said, voice calm but sharp. Anything else? The bounty hunter stared for another second, then stepped back. No, but we'll be watching. They turned and walked off the porch. As they moved into the forest, one of them paused and looked up into the trees where a small drone blinked once, then disappeared. Behind the leaves, Jack closed the door slowly. His knees almost gave out. He dropped down onto the couch, trying to breathe. The air felt heavy. Too heavy. Then he heard a whisper. They were here, weren't they? Luma's soft voice came from beneath the floor. Jack stood and gently moved the sofa aside, opening the trapdoor. Luma's eyes met his, worried but calm. Yes. Jack replied. They're gone now, but they'll be back. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. We don't have much time. Luma climbed up with her 2 children. The boy Kilo still hadn't spoken. Mira, the girl, clung to her mother's arm. We can't stay here, Jack said. I know this area. There's a path near the East Hills. It leads to an old mine tunnel. If we can reach it, you can hide there. No scanners, no trackers. But you'll be caught, Luma said. Jack shook his head. I've lived here long enough. I know how to vanish too. She stared at him for a moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. Jack started gathering supplies, food, water, clothes, a small radio. Every second felt like it ticked louder than the last. Then, outside, a crack, a tree branch snapping. Luma grabbed the children and moved toward the trapdoor. Jack looked through the window. A figure stood at the edge of the clearing. Not armored. Not a bounty hunter. A shadow. Tall, thin, cloaked. And watching. Who is that? Jack whispered. Luma moved closer, her face pale. I don't know, she said. But it's not one of them. Jack turned to her. Then who? Luma looked out again and whispered with fear. Something worse. The forest didn't feel like a forest anymore. It felt like a trap. Every branch that cracked under Jack's boot sounded too loud. Every shadow felt too deep. And that cloaked figure, the one who had been standing at the edge of the clearing, vanished without a sound. He didn't tell Luma or the children. They were already scared enough. Jack led the way with a backpack slung over his shoulder, one hand tightly gripping a flashlight. Luma followed close behind, holding Kilo in her arms. Mira clutched Jack's coat from behind like it was the only safe thing in the world. Where are we going? Mira whispered. To a tunnel, Jack said, his voice steady. A secret one. Long time ago, people used it to hide gold. Now we're going to use it to hide something more precious. Mira blinked. Like us? Jack smiled slightly. Exactly like you. The path was overgrown, but Jack moved with confidence. He had walked this trail many times, though never with lives depending on it. Trees leaned in above them like they were listening. Even the wind had stopped blowing. Luma's voice was quiet. "You said you saw someone," Jack nodded. "Yes. Someone different. Not a bounty hunter. But they were watching us. Not a slave taker. No, something else." Luma looked down. "There are rumors. Dark stories. About shadows that follow escaped slaves but don't work for the camps. We call them collectors. They don't bring you back. They just take you, and no one ever sees you again." Jack didn't reply, but his grip on the flashlight tightened. 20 minutes later, they reached the old mine entrance. Hidden behind thick bushes and covered in moss, the wooden frame was half-rotten, but still standing. "This is it," Jack said, pulling the plants away. "No power, no metal, no light, so scanners can't find you here. You'll be safe." He turned to Luma. "But there's something you need to know. The tunnel's not short, and it's not friendly. We'll need to crawl through the first section. And there are old support beams that could fall if we make too much noise." Luma nodded. "We can do it." Jack handed her a headlamp and tied a scarf gently around Kilo's mouth, just in case he coughs. "It'll muffle the sound." Mira looked up at the dark tunnel and whispered, "It looks like the inside of a dead giant." Jack chuckled. "Well, we're about to walk through its belly." He stepped inside first. The tunnel was cold and damp. The walls dripped with moisture. Old mining tools lay rusted on the ground. The air smelled of stone, dust, and forgotten time. The first part was tight, barely enough space to crawl. Jack led the way, pushing aside old boards and clearing the path. Behind him, Luma helped the kids through the narrow gap. For a while, all they could hear was breathing and scraping. Then Jack stopped. Ahead, a section of the tunnel had collapsed. Large rocks blocked the way forward. Jack swore under his breath. "It's caved in," he said, "but not long ago. These rocks are still fresh." He touched one. It was warm. Luma looked around. "Someone did this." Jack pulled a small pickaxe from his bag. "We'll dig through. Stay back with the children." He started working fast but careful, one rock at a time. Minutes passed. Then something moved. A soft shuffle. Behind them, Luma turned sharply. "Mira, Kilo, stay close." Jack froze, mid-swing. "What is it?" "I heard something," she said. "Back there. Behind us." Jack's flashlight flickered. Just once, then again. The third time it turned off completely. Jack hit it with his hand. Nothing. Then a voice came from behind the darkness. It wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It just said one word. "Luma." Her blood ran cold. "That's not possible," she whispered. "No one knows that name. No one but you." Jack stood, holding the pickaxe. The tunnel behind them was now silent, but the air had changed. He turned to Luma. "We have to go through," he said. "Now. But the rocks, help me." "We don't have a choice." Together, they pulled stone after stone. Dust filled their lungs. The children stayed silent, huddled. Finally, a hole big enough to crawl through appeared. Jack pushed them through first. As he turned to crawl in behind them, he looked back one last time. And in the dark, he saw glowing eyes, not red like the hunters, not yellow like animals, but a deep, empty blue. UNBLINKING.UNMOVI. Watching. Asterisk. The tunnel shook behind them. Dust rained from the ceiling. Rocks crumbled from the walls. And somewhere in the darkness behind the stones it was coming. Jack pulled Luma forward. "Run!" he shouted. "Don't stop!" Luma held Kilo tight in her arms. Mira ran beside her, barefoot and shaking but silent. They followed Jack down the narrow path, deeper into the old mine. No light, just fear and instinct. Behind them, something crashed against the rocks. Again and again. Whatever it was. Wanted in, they reached a wider chamber. An old resting spot for miners. Broken crates and rusted tools lay scattered. There was a ladder at the far end, leading up. Jack turned. This is it. Up the ladder now. Luma climbed with the children first. Jack stayed back, holding the old hunting knife in one hand, the pickaxe in the other. He wasn't going to run, not yet. The rocks behind them burst. A massive shadow stepped through, but it wasn't a bounty hunter. It wasn't human, and it wasn't alive. Its body was black and smooth like glass, with long limbs that bent the wrong way. No mouth, no nose, just a face full of deep blue eyes, glowing, empty, endless. Jack didn't move. The creature tilted its head as if confused. Then it stepped forward. Jack threw the pickaxe, but it passed through the thing like smoke. It didn't bleed. It didn't flinch. Jack gritted his teeth. Then come on, he growled. You'll have to go through me first. The creature raised an arm, long and thin, like a blade, and pointed at Jack. Then it spoke, but not in words. It pressed the sound into Jack's mind. Give, the mother. Jack staggered. The voice wasn't loud, but it was inside him, cold, ancient, like ice wrapped around his bones. He shook it off and ran toward the ladder. Luma pulled Jack up just as the shadow reached the bottom. The hatch above them slammed shut. Jack locked it with a rusted beam. Silence. Then banging. But the door held, for now. They were inside a large metal storage room abandoned long ago. Moonlight shone through a crack in the wall. Kilo started coughing. His face was pale, his breath shaky. He's not okay, Luma said, panicked. He's too cold. Jack stripped off his coat and wrapped it around the boy. There's a house not far from here. Old place. My uncle's still has supplies. We go now. Luma looked back at the hatch. The banging had stopped, but the silence was worse. You fought for us, she said softly. You could have left. Jack looked at her. So could you. You still carry your kids. Luma gave a tired smile. Because they're my heart. Jack nodded. That I'll protect your heart like it's my own. They ran through the night. No more words. Just running. Every shadow felt dangerous. Every sound made Mira flinch. Finally, they reached a half-buried shack covered in vines. Jack kicked the door in. Inside, it smelled like dust and oil. But it was dry, safe. He built a fire quickly. Luma rocked Kilo beside it. Mira curled up beside her. Jack stood by the window, holding his knife. Watching. Waiting. I think it followed. US, he whispered. Luma looked up. Then it's not just after me, it's after Hope. Jack tightened his grip. Then we'll fight back with something stronger. What? Jack looked at the small family by the fire. Love. Snow began to fall. Soft white flakes drifted from the sky, covering the broken roof of the old shack like a blanket. For the first time in days, the world felt still. Inside, the fire crackled low. Kilo slept wrapped in Jack's thick coat, his small hands finally relaxed. Mira rested beside her brother, her head on her mother's lap, cheeks pink from warmth, not cold. Luma sat quietly, her fingers running through her daughter's hair. She looked across the room at Jack, who was fixing a metal bar over the door. You didn't sleep, she said softly. Jack looked over his shoulder and smiled. Didn't have time. Had to make sure no more monsters slipped through the cracks. She smiled just a little. You're not like the others. He shrugged. Never wanted to be. Outside, the forest was silent. No red lights. No drones. No shadows. For now, Jack walked over and handed Luma a cup of warm water. It's not tea, but it's hot. She took it gently. Thank you. Again, Jack sat down near the fire, stretching. His legs were the sigh. Then he spoke quietly. So, what happens now? Luma looked into the flames. I don't know. We can't run forever. But we also can't go back. If they find us again, they won't, Jack said. I've made calls. There's someone I trust in the underground transport network. Smugglers who help refugees. Get off planet. Quietly, her eyes widened. You would do that for us? Jack nodded. I'll trade everything I own if I have to. Land, tools, my truck. Doesn't matter. Luma's voice broke. Why, Jack? Why would a human do this for me? Jack looked her in the eyes. Because you didn't just steal vegetables that night. You stole my silence. I was living alone, not caring about anyone. But now, I care. Tears welled in her eyes. You gave me a name when I had none. You gave my children warmth when they only knew fear. Gave us back our future. She leaned forward and kissed his hand, trembling. Jack gently lifted her chin. You don't have to bow. You're not broken, Luma. You're strong. You're a mother. And to me, you're more human than most humans I've met. Suddenly, Mira stirred and sat up. She looked at Jack, eyes wide. Can we stay with you? She asked, her voice small. Forever? Luma gasped. Mira. But Jack didn't hesitate. He smiled. If you want to, yes. This place isn't much. But it's warm, it's safe. And I'd be honored to have a family again. Luma looked at her children. Then back at Jack. She nodded slowly, tears falling freely. Yes, she whispered. Then this is our home now. Outside, the trees stood tall under the falling snow dot, and from deep in the forest, something dark watched from the shadows. But this time, it did not move closer, because the light in the shack burned too bright, and no shadow dares touch a heart full of love.